I'm Moira Simpson. I'm the executive member of the Gauteng Alliance for Street Children and the National Alliance for Street Children. Bill can't hear me, I'll shout louder. I'm going to read an introduction, a brief introduction to you on how the Alliance developed. And then we'll add some more practical comments. The Gauteng Alliance for Street Children has worked together with the Gauteng Provincial Health and Social Development since 1994. GASC is a member of the National Alliance for Street Children, a national body working together with the National Department of Social Development, in particular with regards to the Children's Act as amended, and specifically under the sector dealing with orphans and vulnerable children, which includes street children. Those are in shelters and those who are still on the streets. NASC and GASC have participated in National Child Protection Forum meetings over the last 2 years and recently been part of the discussions on the amendments of the Children's Act in identifying the areas that need urgent attention to be able to effectively remove children from the streets. GASC's core interest is to serve children between the ages of 6 and 18 who are or were on the streets of Gauteng and youths. GASC has a database of all organizations providing residential care and outreach services, operating in Gauteng, providing services to street children, in particular those who were registered under the old Child Care Act and who are presently the only operators to provide services to street children under the Act. GASC is also endeavoring to assist organizations providing services to prepare for conditional registration with the Provincial Department of Social Development under the Children's Act. In March 2011, a conference was organized by GASC in partnership with the Department of Social Development when a strategy was put in place for the transformation of all shelters into child and youth care centers. Those registered under the old Child Care Act have until March 2015 to complete their transformation process, and those not registered under the Act must take immediate steps to register as they are illegally operating in terms of the Children's Act. And while the other organizations have 5 years, those not registered only have 2 years. So it's quite a serious thing. On the finalization of the strategy document, this was submitted to the MEC Gauteng for approval. This document, which is the plan of action for Gauteng, was approved in September 2011 and signed so that implementation can commence. At the beginning of October 2011, the National Alliance annual conference took place, and the Gauteng Department of Social Development assisted with funding for representatives from all shelters in Gauteng, registered and unregistered, as well as the social development staff members to attend this 3-day conference when the new strategy for Gauteng was introduced to delegates. Plans for shelters, those registered and unregistered, to attend a provincial conference early in the new year are in place. The proposed date is 24 February, so that organizations can meet the criteria set out in the Children's Act regarding providing residential care for orphans and vulnerable children, specifically street children, and also regarding providing services as drop-in centers for daycare programs. During October and at the beginning of this month, National Alliance for Street Children representatives attended the workshops on the amendment of the Children's Act and conveyed present challenges for the removal of children from the streets into shelters. The court has ruled that no child can be admitted to a shelter for residential care unless a Form 36 is signed by a designated person. After lengthy discussions on both these occasions, a request was lodged with the National Department by the National Alliance for Street Children, and it has been verbally agreed to by the legislation section of the National Department of Social Development that shelters registered and established under the Child Care Act be granted child protection organization status with limited designated powers to complete and sign Form 36 and to administratively report absconding incidents for the duration of the interim order granted by court. I think that will answer to some of the questions that are coming up, and I think, Sam, you've got something to add?
I think I can just say that people might just actually say, what is GASC? GASC is just a voluntary association for shelters living and working with with the children in the street. And ideally, you know, there are 5 regions that are actually affiliates of Gauteng Alliance for Street Children. One which is Tshwane Alliance for Street Children, Ekurhuleni Alliance for Street Children, Johannesburg Alliance for Street Children, Sidibeng Alliance for Street Children, then Western Alliance for Street Children. But in certain regions, you know, there are no registered shelters per se. So hence, you know, other alliance regions are actually weaker than, you know, other alliance regions. So we actually the umbrella body for, you know, for the network of all these regions in this particular sector of children living and working in the street. I think that's basically what I wanted to say.